Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam, I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Thieves of Eldris by InsideUp Games.
Thieves of Eldris is a game that is a part of a trio of games that are currently running on crowdfunding right this minute. So make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video after you watch it to check out all the details on this particular game as well as the other two games from InsideUp Games. But in this one, this is volume 3 of the 3-game series that all look like books. And for a closer up look of this, check out the rules portion of this video coming up right after this portion. And what you have here with this game, it is a hidden movement game in which you are going to be a thief. And you and the other players are thieves trying to rob from the different townspeople and each other trying to be the first to get to 8 coins in this game. It's a hidden movement game, secret identity, want to try to keep yourself concealed as long as possible in this one. Let's go down to the table. I'll show you how this one works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Thieves of Eldris on the table. Let me show you all this game about robbery. Now, I do want to make sure you understand that this is all prototype, so everything you see here could change once it's released from crowdfunding. The artwork, the components, the rules. Check out that campaign page to get all the details. Now, what you have with this game component-wise, you have lots of cards. You've got cards that are going to make a 6x4 grid with all these different characters on them, and this is going to make up the city in which you are going to be playing the game through. You also have another deck of cards that are going to have the exact same characters, exact same cards. The only difference is the artwork on the back, and as you can see, this has got some shiny foil covering on the back here with the logo of the game. You do have lots of tokens in this game. You do have 3 dice, and you do have lots of money tokens. And these are interesting money tokens as they come in half pieces, or at least some of them do. And that's because you might be earning 50 cents in this game, or $1.50 or something of that sort. I do also want to point out that the box for this game looks like a book. Again, check out the campaign page to get all the details, because this is a campaign that is launched with 3 different games from InsideUp Games. And as you can see, this is volume 3 of the 3 games, and they all look like books, and they all have these magnetic flaps to them. So that's pretty cool. And again, this is still prototype, so check out that campaign page. Now, another thing real quick with the components, it does have a tuck box. So why am I making a big deal about a tuck box? Well, this game can be played with just the cards and the dice. You don't necessarily need all of the tokens in the game because there are cards to help you keep track of your money. And the money is important because whoever gets to 8 coins first in this game is going to be the winner. But I think it's interesting that you could just carry around this deck of cards with the 3 dice and be able to play this game. That's pretty cool. So let's talk about how this game works. Well, you're going to have the cards set up in a 6x4 grid out here, and you're going to have these cards shuffled up. And depending on the number of players in the game, you'll deal out a number of these cards face down to all the players. We're going to talk as if this is a 2 to 4 player game for the majority of this rules portion of the video. So taking a look at your 3 cards in secret, you're going to select one of the 3 cards that are in your hand to be your person, your pickpocket, your cat purse, the person that you are in the game. So in this case, I'm going to pick the paladin. And then the other cards are going to be your targets, the people that you're trying to rob from in this game. Because in this game, you are robbing from the other characters, and you want to try to get 8 coins before anybody else in the game. So I've got my paladin, that's me. I keep that secret. Don't let anybody know who you are. And then we've got our 2 targets, which those are secret as well. We don't want anybody to know who we're targeting. Now that I've got that figured out, and everybody else is also going to be doing the same thing at the same time, a turn is going to start by rolling the 3 dice. And you would not roll these out here on top of all of the cards. I'm just doing this because I don't want to move the camera. Now, what are on these dice? Well, they've got the same icons that are on all of the cards. As you can see in the top left corner of every card is going to be a color and icon, and those are going to match the 6 sides of the die. And so, having rolled what I've rolled, I now can move characters that match the same icons on the dice that I've rolled. And you're moving them 1 space, up, right, up, down, left, or right, swapping cards with the adjacent one. Well, why would I want to move anybody for any given reason? Well, Again, I am the paladin, which happens to be right here, and my two targets happen to be the enchanter, which the enchanter is way down here, and then the ranger, which the ranger happens to be right next to me, and that's just a lucky break. More often than not, that your targets are going to be so far away from you that you'll have to use these dice to be able to move everything around to be adjacent to your target, because you want to be adjacent to the person so that you can steal from them. You can't steal from them if you're not adjacent. So I've already got the ranger next to me, but I want to try to get the enchanter over next to me as well. So maybe I use these dice to be able to allow me to do that. And again, you move someone that matches that icon one space up, down, left, or right. And so I'm not going to think about this too much, but I could use this purple one here to, move the Beastmaster down here. And then I'm going to use the brain person here, and not really thinking this through, guys, but, you wouldn't be able to use their cards here to be able to move people to get them to where you need them to be. And maybe I would have moved myself, because I am yellow here, moved myself around to where I could be able to get adjacent to my different people. Now, obviously, you're only going to be moving 3 cards on every round, so I'm not going to be able to move as many times as you're seeing me move right here. But let's say that it ends up being like this, and here I am, the paladin. Nobody knows that I'm the paladin, but now that I'm adjacent to my people after having done my 3 moves, then I could announce to the table if I am stealing from anybody. Now, how that would work is I would reveal one of my cards to say, look, I have stolen from the enchanter. And the enchanter happens to be this card right here. And we're going to flip that card over because the enchanter no longer has any money and they have left the town. And I steal from the enchanter. Now, how much do I earn? Well, that's dependent upon where they were in the city when I stole from them. If they're in one of these blue spaces, I'm only going to earn $1. If they're on the edge on one of these yellow spaces, I'll earn $1.50. And if they're in one of the 4 corners, I'll earn $2. Why is that? Why do you earn less if they're in the middle and more if they're on the outside? Well, having stolen from the person that was right here, I have given a major clue to the other players at the table. The clue is that I have to be either the assassin, the paladin, or the brawler, because you have to be adjacent to the person you're stealing from. So now I've narrowed it down pretty well for the other players as to who I am. Had I stolen from the brawler, that would have indicated to the people at the table that I either have to be the ranger or the enchanter. So as you can see, depending on where you steal from, that's going to give a better clue to the other people. Now, you can steal from the other players, and this is why you want to keep your identity hidden. If I thought that one of the other players at the table was the artificer, I could have said, hey, I think you're the artificer and I'm stealing from you. They would have to honestly tell me whether they were the artificer or not. And if they were the artificer, they would have to show me their card. I would flip their card over, and I would steal $1 from their money and $2 from the supply. I would get $3 in that case. And now that would obviously tell them that I have to be one of the 4 cards next to them. But, I stole from them, and I've gotten a lot of money in that turn. Now, they would get a new card to determine who their character is out here, and the game would continue. Just because you get caught doesn't mean you're eliminated from the game. But as you can see, cards are going to be getting flipped over as the game progresses. There's going to be fewer options, and it's going to be harder to make money in the later rounds of the game and harder to keep your identity sealed. That's the idea of the game. This will continue until somebody gets 8 coins, at which point the game will immediately end and they will be the winner. Now, I do want to point out that if you roll doubles on your turn, something special is going to happen. Before you use any of the dice for movement, you will get to do a special ability depending on what icon you rolled. And basically, the special abilities are going to allow you to move extra or change out one of your cards or take a look at a card in the deck so that you get a little bit more knowledge as to who isn't who and what isn't what. But anyhow, that's the gist of the game for the multiplayer game. It is going to play a little bit different if you have more players in the game, more than 4 anyway. Your targets aren't going to be hidden. There's going to be a set of 3 communal targets, and it's just basically going to be first come, first serve. Try to steal from one of the ones that are in the communal market, and you'll get rewarded for doing so. And they're going to refill. There's going to be always 3 in that communal market. Now, if you're playing in the solo game, it is going to be be a little bit different. You will obviously have one person that's you, but then you will deal out 3 more cards, putting them in a stack and flipping that stack over. Whoever is on the top of the stack, that is going to tell you that that person absolutely is a threat. You do not want that person next to you, nor do you want that person next to one of your targets, because they are going to steal from you or your target. Then you'll splay out the other 2 cards very carefully, just enough to see what color are on those 2 cards, and you'll put these possible threat tokens on all of the cards that match those colors. So in this case, purple and red. And what that is telling you is that these cards are potential bad guys, potential threats. You're not 100% sure, but you want to treat them like they could be threats. And so now, having all the tokens set out, I would then roll my dice, do my action, and let's say that I'm the thug here. Again, I don't want these guys to be right next to me because they could be the threats. They could be stealing from me if they are, nor do I want them next to my targets. So I would move everything around, trying to get myself in a safe spot, trying to get me next to my targets so that I could steal from my targets, trying to move these people away from my targets. Once I've done all of my movement, I would reveal the 2 cards underneath the one that I know, and I would see, oh, Druid and Ranger. Well, here's the Ranger. That's definitely a bad guy. And let's see here. Here's the Druid. That's definitely a bad guy. And then I could remove all of the other possible threat tokens. And I would resolve everything, letting the bad guys go first, stealing from whatever's adjacent to next to them first. And then I would get to do my stealing if I'm adjacent to something that I could steal. And that's the gist of the game with this one. So, again, you want to try to have the most money in the solo game, and in the multiplayer game, you want to be the first to get to 8 coins, and that's how you play Thieves of Eldris. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Thieves of Eldris from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, first thing I want to ask you about is just the look of this game, because it's a unique look. Comes in this book. It's got this magnetic flap to it, this hollow cover, if you will. And again, this is just prototype, so keep that in mind. But what did you think about the look of this?
Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, obviously, we like to display our games, so something like this would be really cool. Especially
I agree.
Ones.
Yeah, having the whole set would be pretty cool, lining them up like this. Now, this isn't the first time that anybody's ever done the book look, but I like this hollow and foil look to it. Is a pretty sweet look. And then the cards, as you saw in the rules portion of the video, they look like this as well, and I thought that that was a nice touch to the game. Let's talk about how it actually plays. What were your thoughts on this one?
I liked it. It was kind of like a mystery type game. I will say you definitely have to pay attention to what the other player is doing, which is not my strong. I get very tunnel vision on what I'm doing, and while they're playing, I typically am thinking about what's my next move, and you can't do that because I did that and I lost very badly.
Yeah, you absolutely have to be paying attention to what everybody's doing, who they're moving around on the table, and how they're getting their points, because that's the biggest clues in order to do well, but also how you might want to try to avoid certain portions of the city, because if you see they're moving and then they're scoring points over there, you don't want to go mix yourself up in that, because you're going to get robbed from, unless you think you know who they are. So talk about that for just a second, because this isn't just about stealing from your targets, but also stealing from the other players. What was that like for you?
It was difficult. I felt like Lance clearly knew who I was every time, and I could never figure out who he was. And again, I do think it plays into paying attention to what's going on. So it's a short game, but mentally it can be taxing, because you have to be 100% there.
Now, what I like about this game is that early on, there's lots of people in the city. You're not sure who is who, but towards the later portions of this game, when cards have been flipped over because they've been stolen from, there are fewer people in the city, so it's harder to stay hidden. It's harder to get away with stuff in the end portions of the game, which means it's easier to nab somebody. Like when somebody makes a mistake, you're like, okay, I know exactly who you are. I'm coming to get you. And that's a fun little thing towards the end of the game. Did you catch on to that any?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that this is a difficult game to grasp as far as rule-wise. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally understood the rules. I think for maybe a non-gamer or someone that just, I don't know, I hate to say that I don't pay attention during games, because I do. I'm just more focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so
Not as observant as to whatever everybody's
whereas
doing.
you're used to always making sure I'm not cheating and stuff. So I feel like it was easy to play, but it was hard for me to win.
Okay. Yeah. And even from a gamer perspective, I think, you know, when you get higher player counts with this game, it's tough trying to figure out, well, who's moving who and why are they moving there and what are they doing there? And because you've got so many players at play in a higher player count game, obviously, that there's more to keep up with. And so the more players you play with, the higher the challenge I think there is with that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the lower player counts aren't as fun, because I still feel like it's a little bit of a, you know, not cat and mouse experience, but it's definitely a, I think you're over there, or I think you're there kind of game. And that's fun too, I feel like. So I had a great time with this. I love the fact that it comes with that tuck box where you can just take the cards and the dice and be able to play this anywhere. You don't need the whole big box. We like to travel, and so there's that aspect of it as well. So I think that's a cool part of the game as well. So one you would recommend playing with non-gamers?
Yeah, I think it's a great one to play with non-gamers.
All right, well, there you go. It's Thieves of Eldris from InsideUp Games. And again, this is already running on crowdfunding, so make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video. Hurry while that campaign is still live. While you're down there, make sure to leave us some comments and let us know your thoughts about Thieves of Eldris and InsideUp Games.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.